It has been approved by the Department of Energy, and now it's kind of full steam ahead, and we really need people to speak up. You guys,
can we hear from a few of the landowners so we have relevant stories to share when we're talking about this? Bob, would you care stepping up and sharing your story?
I'll be glad to. There are a huge number of issues involved with this pipeline. One, certainly one of the big ones from the perspective of landowners is the use of eminent domain for an export project. In this case, for a Canadian company, most of the gas, at least initially, coming from Canada. We have a very strong belief that it is wrong to use eminent domain for this type of project, which is primarily for the profit of a foreign energy company. It's a very high pressure line. If you have the pressure is 1440 psi, the chances of a leak and an ignition are relatively small, but if it does, you're going to have a huge explosion.
Could I say something?
Sure.
When they came to me over 7 years ago, I was one of the first people they came to, and they said a pipeline is coming through 4 pieces of your property, and they didn't say that it was maybe not going to go. They just said it was. We want to drill on your property, and we will pay you $1,000 to let us drill on your property. They then later said to me that don't worry about this and that because this is going to be your retirement. Okay,
yeah,
so
nice,
they drilled
right.
on my property. They talked about jobs and how there's going to be all these jobs. So when the surveyors showed up, I went and talked to every single one of them as they were drilling on my property. And guess what? They were all from Idaho, not one surveyor from this area. Last summer they came to me and they offered me to want me to sign on my property. One piece they offered me $385, the other one $500 and something, the other one $800 and something. I think it was only $200 on the other piece of property. It's 4 separate tax lots. But since there's a law that they cannot pay me less than $1,000 per piece of property, they have to pay. They can't pay you under $1,000. It was a grand total of $4,000 I was offered last summer, and that will not pay the property taxes on those 4 pieces of property for 1 year. So yeah, we're going to get screwed. If they end up getting this in, that's the name of the game. What about the 27 horses that dropped dead along the Williams pipeline? Because there was a hole in the pipe the size of a nickel, and when I asked them about it, they said, we don't know why they died, we can't talk about it. I said, why? Because it's under litigation. They're autopsying the horses to see what they died from. They found a hole in their pipeline the size of a nickel, and it killed 27 horses in the same day, which could have just as easily have been people camping in a campground along one of these rivers.
Obviously, Bob and Tony are landowners, so if we have more questions, feel free to find them and ask them. This whole rally today is in conjunction with 2 other rallies that are happening in Coos Bay and up in Astoria. There's another project proposed for Astoria, so we are in solidarity with other big groups doing the same exact thing today, so it's a whole statewide day of action. We'll be out there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe, and then we'll come back here, and then we're going to carpool and caravan up river.
I want to stop that pipeline. I think they've been lying to us the whole time. I don't believe anything they say. I just don't want it here. I don't want them to ruin the river. I come up here, I go fishing up here. It's our river, it's not theirs. And I just don't want them in here.
I'm here because I care about our rogue river, and I also care about my gas prices. I don't want them to go up, which will happen if this pipeline goes in.
I think fracking gas in the Rocky Mountains and shipping it to Asia for export is not a smart move for our country or our community, and the river and the waterways are much more important than profits for energy companies.
We have to stop this pipeline. It's a disaster in the making, and citizens should have the power to decide, not huge corporations.
I think the pipeline will harm the environment and increase the global warming. I also have a relative who's affected by the pipeline. It would cross her pasture, her creek, her forests. It would be fairly near their home, so since the gas is not odorized, it's always an issue of if there's a leak, how do you know?
They're cutting through our property, and they're going to clear cut 2 acres of forest off of our property. They're just taking our property. It's weird that we allow that to happen. I don't have any choice in it, and here's this company who's coming in for their own profit, and it doesn't impact us, the community, or our country at all. in any positive way, and yet they're going to use eminent domain. It just doesn't make any sense.
We don't want this pipeline in this valley. It's going to ruin it. It's not researched enough. It's not, looked into deep enough. They don't do this. They have a tendency to just jump into things and say, it's going to create jobs, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and it doesn't do any of that. And we've been fooled again, and I think it's just another ploy to get us to go, okay, let's let them do this. Once they do it, then it's out of our hands.
Like the lady said, they had people come in from Idaho to do the basic work.
Why would you want people from another state that don't even care about, they're not our best in their mind at all. They don't care about us. They don't have any reason to preserve this river or this valley. They don't care about the homeowners or the farmers.
And the fire department's not set up to fight any kind of fire that's from that.
Absolutely. That's the biggest right there.
And if it goes to Coos Bay, they said they were going to close it for 4 days a week. So the fishermen that we have that have loans on their boats and everything, they can't go out and fish and bring it back.
And 30% of the small towns used to make their income from fishing.
Right.
All that. So if they don't have that,
up here, especially.
Plus, they shouldn't have the right to take a farmer's land.
No.
Eminent domain is good for some things, but this is not one of them. You don't go through somebody's land and ruin it and just take it away. I mean, these people have farmed on their land or have cows on their land for years and years, and it's family farms, so I don't think that's right.
Start drilling over there. This is going to be tunneled under the river. We go underneath the river, under here, underneath the highway, underneath that crossroad that comes on, through that hill over there, and come out over on the other side.
We're sitting at where the proposed pipeline is going to be going through, coming in this direction, going across the river. You can see where the signs are across the river. I don't know if that's the exact location, but I believe that's pretty close to the concept and the idea of where the river's going. You can see there's houses right over there in the trees where there's private property. From my perspective, some of the biggest concerns I have is infringing on people's property rights and the idea of eminent domain and taking people's property without, with their rights being trampled and stripped. So that's one of my biggest things with the LNG pipeline. If someone wants to run a business, they can, but not at the expense of other people's rights. So in terms of the LNG, I know a lot of people have concern over the size of the line and the pressurization of the line and the risks associated with that line breaking and what that can do to local ecosystem, the ecology of the area, as well as, of course, human life and the threat to both livestock and someone's family and everything that's involved with that. If there is, I wouldn't say if, I'd say when, because of course pipelines aren't perfect, because humans aren't perfect. So this puts a lot of people and property at risk having this type of pipeline going through.
Hey, good people everywhere, every one of you who cares. It's time to stand up for our water and our air.